to order this meeting of the San Marcos City Council. This is a regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 4th of 2024. The time is 6 p.m. Ms. Trevino, please call the roll.
Mr. Prather, Mr. Scott, Ms. Garza.
Here.
Mayor Houston.
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Gleason.
Here.
And Mr. Mendoza.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Our invocation tonight will be provided by Pastor Amy Sutherland.
Good evening. This prayer is based on the scripture passage, Jeremiah 29:7, where the prophet says, on behalf of God, seek the welfare, and that word there means peace, prosperity, shalom, of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray unto the Lord on its behalf. So let us pray together. Almighty and everlasting God, we invoke your presence among us and gratefully welcome your spirit in this place tonight. You have called us to seek the welfare of our city, for in its shalom we find our own. Here we build homes and businesses. We plant and we harvest. We nurture friendships and families. We learn and grow and thrive. In short, O Lord, in this city we live our lives. May we trust your plans for this place, plans for our welfare and not for harm, plans for a future filled with hope. As we gather this night, we invite your presence among us, asking that you bless all these elected and appointed civil servants. We give thanks for their service on this council. Grant them the ability to do their work in a spirit of wisdom, kindness, and justice. Help them use their authority to serve faithfully, working to eliminate poverty, prejudice, and oppression, that peace may prevail. We pray for our mayor. We pray for our council members. We pray for our city employees. We pray for their families. Grant us all the courage to lead in bold and new ways, the grace to listen well to one another, the humility to seek the good of our neighbors above our own interests. And as you move among us this night, may we be reminded, O Lord, of your steadfast presence and unfailing love. Appealing to your holy mercy, O God, we pray. Amen.
Amen. And Pastor Sutherland is with the First Presbyterian Church. Next item is pledges of allegiance to United States and Texas. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Next is our citizen comment time period. The City Council will hear citizen comments at work sessions, workshops, and regular meetings. Persons wishing to speak during citizen comment or question and answer portion of the program do need to sign up in advance, and there is a process for that you can find on our website. Speakers may speak once during citizen comment time period and may not yield time to others. If you speak now about a public hearing on tonight's agenda, we ask that you not repeat exactly the same comments again during the public hearing on the same topic. You will have 3 minutes to speak when you state your name, and a timer is displayed on the screen. You'll see that it's mostly green. As you speak, the green will disappear, and when you have yellow only, you'll have less than 20 seconds left. When the timer is red, your time to speak is up, and a bell will ring. And this evening, we have folks in present and online. And our first person is Saeed Mashfegihana.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay, hear me. Okay, perfect. Hello, the council members, the mayor. I'm Saeed Moshfegh Yagana, and I want to talk in support of ceasefire resolution at the City Council that we are advocating for it for months, but unfortunately we have not seen any progress in the City Council. I am very disappointed with the City Council because of your lack of action. Every session in the City Council starts with a prayer, and a pastor comes and say a prayer that gives a gesture that the City Council members are people of faith. But when it comes to action and supporting justice, the City Council comes short in their action. You are suggesting that you are faithful people, but you are not doing based on your faith. Your faith says that you have to stand for justice and righteousness, and when more than 35,000 people are killed in Palestine, you just try to ignore it. That's shameful. Bible suggests that rescue from the hand of oppressor and to the hand of the person that is robbed. You are doing nothing to show your faith to the religion that you are following. That's shameful. Also, your constituents are asking you to pass the ceasefire resolution at the City Council for months, and you just ignore us. If you don't want to follow the will of the people, please don't keep the public service duty and give it to the people that actually want to serve those that they represent. I hope this actionless ends in the City Council and we see some progress in the ceasefire resolution. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker will be Wayne Miller, to be followed by Jordan Oliver, and then online, Shanta Miller and Genesis Williams. Is Wayne Miller here? Okay.
Good evening, I'm Wayne Miller. What do I want? I want justice. You know, mercy is good, and we all must have mercy. But there comes a time when we have to do exactly what is right. I want to know that justice has been enacted. I don't want to have to guess if you're doing the right thing or not. I can only believe that something is being hidden if you're failing to share evidence that would say, hey, this is what happened. I'm speaking concerning the murder of my grandson. You see, I have asked multiple times, my family and I, to see video. I have been given a minimal amount of promise that I can see this. As a matter of fact, I was said, everybody listen to this here. Why don't we look at what we can see and not what we can't see? You see, if it's available, if it's there, we can see it. And if we can't see it, pray tell me, why not? All I'm asking you, if you can give me a good reason why I can't see that, then maybe you can satisfy me. But I don't see any reason being said why we can't see more of what's going on. I've been offered to see something that probably won't add anything to it. I've been told that I can listen to the officers when they met with the two guys that are Spanish speaking, but there would have to be somebody from an interpreter from the police department. I have friends that speak fluent Spanish. Why not let me hear one of them, somebody I can believe in? I want to believe in the city. I want to believe in the police department. Please give me a reason to believe in you, to trust in you. That's what my daddy taught me to do. My dad taught me to respect those that were in authority, and that's what I've done. And I have not started disrespecting, but my mother taught me to demand a clear and concise answer. Mom, I'm following you this evening. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jordan Oliver. Okay.
Philippians 2:3-4. Do nothing from selfish ambitions or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only at his own interest, but also to the interest of others. I open with this Bible verse to remind the council that last time I talked to them as fellow Christians, I naively believed that my siblings in Christ would follow the words of Philippians 2. Sadly, though, we all fall short. Because despite members of your community begging to bring justice for Malachi and members of your community begging for you to say, we don't believe Palestinians should be genocided, we want the violence to stop, you still stay silent and you don't bring the conversation to a discussion. So today I talk to you like politicians, because apparently our shared religion isn't powerful enough for you. Because I could tell you the horrors of what's happening in Rafah or Gaza or anywhere else, but if what has already been said hasn't swayed you, then I'm afraid those stories fall on deaf ears. So let me be honest with you. Silence is a red line for me. Call me crazy, but I don't want to vote for people who say they won't vote in favor of world peace. I'm sure many voters feel the same way, Mark. Many voters don't want to vote for someone who will so easily go against his morals and the morals of all his voters because of a singular threat. You might not think my opinions matter, and maybe they don't. So what if I don't vote for you? Despite all you preach during election season, how my vote matters and how my voice matters to you, it's clear you don't believe it. Because it's clear to me that the people of San Marcos are expendable numbers to you. The people in this room are expendable numbers to you. Malachi was just a number. Malachi's family is just a number. The Palestinian community members are just numbers to you. Numbers you are okay with losing. It hurts. These are people you clearly don't care about. You tell them with your actions. I find it ironic, the prayer at the beginning, calling for you to end poverty and oppression, yet you don't live by these holy words. The prayer talked about planting gardens, a symbol of planting roots and finding a home, yet Palestinians' gardens are being uprooted and destroyed. Do you not view Palestinians as God's people? The prayer talks about a community of justice, yet Malachi's family doesn't get justice. Are they not God's people? These are your voters. These are your community members. These are the numbers that can make or break your next election. I'll end this by saying that I hope and pray that this speech about your politics and voting numbers isn't the one that changes your mind. I hope your grieving community members' stories are what encourages you to change your ways. However, I now have very little hope in the council. I hope and pray God softens your hearts. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Shanta Miller.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, my son is Malachi Williams. Date of birth, 7/22/2001. On April the 11th of 2024, he was murdered by the San Marcos Police Department. They have not had any transparency with us. We're not getting any answers. I don't even have a police report. My son, he had to get buried 5 weeks after his murder. We have no answers. No one's given us anything. I can't get a death certificate. There's nothing that I can get. My son needs justice. The demands that we have placed and that my father spoke about as well are simple demands. We're only asking to be able to have our lawyers present when we are inside of there looking at the video, and the family members to be able to see that. We are only asking for a very small amount of things. The officer's name and badge number. Who murdered my son? Can you at least look at me in my eye and talk to me? That's the only thing I'm asking, is to release the name and badge number. and then also that he be taken off of the force for now, as long as he is under investigation. That just doesn't make sense. If you're in a company, they take you out of that company while you're on investigation. This is a company. The police department is a company, so you need to follow protocol.
Hello, my name is Marion Williams. Malachi Williams was my big brother. I come to this council meeting to say that each and every one of you have the ability to make change and help our family get justice for Malachi. On May 21st, I laid my brother to rest, and on May 27th, I turned 19. As a little sister, that hurts more than you can imagine. We have still gotten little to no answers on what happened the night of April 11th. I want to take the time to reiterate our demands. Number 1, we want the officer's name and badge number. Number 2, we want the officer to be relieved from duty. Number 3, we want to be able to view all camera footage from all officers at the scene, along with store footage with our lawyers present. These are very simple demands that you can make happen. And if you say that you have tried to get these demands, you haven't, so try harder. I can't even mourn my brother's death the way that I should be able to. Ask yourself, if you were denied these demands, how would you feel being put in a position where you are denied the truth? If this so-called justice system has nothing to hide, then what is the problem in proving that? How many more shirts do we have to make? How many more names do we need to call out and remember till we get things right? You have the power to stop these acts of violence from happening. Help us get answers.
And also, I'd like to also say that my daughter, Kayla, she's a teacher. It's her first year of teaching, and she graduated right there at Texas State. And she had to go back to her students, and she sees all her different students, her black students, her brown students, her white students, and they all ask, so what happened with your brother? We heard something about your brother. And she said, oh, it's on investigation. I can't speak too much on it. And they said, oh, I know what happened. Somebody must have got it.
Our next speaker is signed up as Genesis Williams online. I don't see them there.
I think she just spoke.
Yeah, I didn't catch the first name, but it could be. That's what I thought, to Marion. Anyway, I'll circle back and we'll see
So Shanta,
before we're done. Yeah. Our next speaker is Rodrigo Amaya, to be followed by Liz Amaya, followed by Amanda Smith, who joins us online, and then Carrie Jones and Adam Holt. So if y'all could be ready.
Rodrigo Amaya, 322 Laredo Street. Tonight, here we are again, hearing words, shameful, actionless, lack of transparency, lack of action, unchristian, careless, murders, no transparency. How does this make you guys feel? You know, all of y'all are responsible for a lot of this stuff that's happened. We just had another incident yesterday at the park involving the park rangers. Once again, folks, I mean, it's being looked into by a bunch of citizens, and they're all putting together their little videos of what they witnessed yesterday. But it's nothing but a direct reflection of poor leadership at those police departments, starting with the chief and whoever's running Huffman up here for the park rangers. You know, it's very challenging for citizens to know who to address the complaints to, because that office at the marshal's office, they have this thing called ORI. I know a couple of years back, Lloyd Locke, who's frequently mentioned in all kinds of civil rights violations to up to lots of other questionable things. You don't even know who to complain to. You know, some of these guys go and do side jobs from the police department, go over there. You don't know who's carrying their commission. Now, a lot of you guys don't even know, and, you know, the ins and outs of law enforcement related matters, and that's very concerning for someone who's been in the business a long time. You know, I can tell you, right here in front of everybody, city manager, we had a meeting a while back, me, you, Stan Ridge, and Chase Stapp, I gotta warn you, a lot of the stuff that they were telling you, they're not being accurate with you. And I know you guys depend on these individuals for guidance. You know, I've heard, I was the president of the Chiefs of Police Association and all kinds of other things. That don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing when your actions clearly show that you don't have what it takes ethically to do your job. They hide behind all this civil service rules, regulations. You know, that other incident with our officer that killed that female in Lockhart area, all the efforts from the community just to get the answers, to be able to bury their loved ones, all this body right here is responsible for it. You know, I need to do a better job. Again, things are just happening over and over and over, and people come to y'all, and y'all write little notes or whatever y'all do, but out there, it's not changing at all. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Liz Amaya.
Good evening. My name is Liz Amaya. I just want to ask to release the body cam footage for Malachi Williams. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Amanda Smith, who joins us online.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. I'm here for, I don't know, the umpteenth time. I've lost track how many times I have come out of my way to come down to the city council to call for a ceasefire resolution to be passed. I have been here where there have been hours upon hours of people who have gone out of their way to come down to speak on this matter. This is something your constituents clearly want. That makes it a municipal issue. That makes it your job. It's your job. And what I see stopping this from happening is textbook corruption. I mean, one of you has even explicitly stated that he declines to support bringing this to the agenda for his own personal, business, because for his own personal monetary gain, that this is not being put on the agenda, despite the overwhelming support from your own constituents. This is textbook corruption. You guys are public servants. That means you don't get to make decisions just based on your personal finances for your personal benefit. You make decisions based on your constituents, what your constituents call for. That's your job as a public servant. You need to bring this ceasefire resolution on the agenda, and you need to pass it. With the remainder of my time, I also want to speak on behalf of Malachi Williams and his family. Their demands are 100% reasonable. There's absolutely no reason that they should be kept in the dark about what has happened to their own family member. This is an issue that affects every single city in the United States. This is an ongoing issue within our society where police are able to kill other human beings and the community is just kept in the dark. This is what makes people not trust the police, which is not healthy for our society. We need to have people that when we're in danger, we can call and know we can trust them, that we know are on our side. So their demands are absolutely reasonable. You need to make sure they happen. And with my last few seconds to the family of Malachi Williams, I want to extend to you personally my condolences. And I want you to know this community stands with you.
Our next speaker is Carrie Jones, to be followed by Adam Holt, Tara Opiella, and Vanessa Galvan.
And I've lived in San Marcos for the last 30 years. I have a special needs son, and San Marcos has no place for him to go during the day. He attends a day half facility in New Braunfels, but we don't have anything here that meets for special needs adults. The last place we had closed without warning, and it was a dilapidated building that you wouldn't have put children in. So he's on the same mentality as a child. And he needs a place to go. Right now, I'm going back and forth to New Braunfels because they have a facility where they get hot meals twice a day, and they're in the community. And it serves a purpose. But I shouldn't have to go to another community when I live here. And the same thing for the CARTS bus system. They run back and forth to Lockhart, but that's for the elderly to get care here for their doctors. He doesn't want to go to Lockhart. He wants to go to New Braunfels or Kyle or Buda, somewhere where he can meet up with his peers. And I just feel like San Marcos does not do anything to enhance his life, and yet I'm paying taxes every month. And there's nothing. In San Antonio, they bend over backwards, but there's that invisible line, and they won't bring him all the way home because they will not cross into San Marcos. And our CARTS bus goes to Lockhart. It doesn't go anywhere that the special needs are at during the day. So like I said, I've lived here for 30 years. My taxes go here, but I'm supporting New Braunfels because they will support the Special Needs Society. Thank you.
Adam Holt.
Hello, good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for having me. This has certainly been a pretty heavy meeting. I really appreciate y'all's attention and just the willingness to hear us out. I'm coming tonight because it's clear that our residents here in San Marcos are hurting, and in a lot of different ways. I run an organization called Outsiders Anonymous. We're a recovery community organization. We provide 100% free substance use and mental health training or treatment. And we also operate the only 100% free gym in the entire state of Texas. So please excuse my attire. I've been coaching all day. But one of the things that we get to see is a side of San Marcos that not everybody gets to see. It's not all the river. It's not all the nightlife. It's not the beautiful weather. There are people here in our neighborhood, in our community, that are hurting and without any sort of compassion, without any sort of services, because we are such a small town. And tonight, you're going to, I believe y'all are going to vote on a reallocation of some community development block grant funding. And I wanted to, as a small business owner, as a community member, I wanted to give my support to that. We as an organization have actually submitted a grant proposal, or a proposal in conjunction with the Mental Health Treatment Court and the Hays County Homeless Coalition to open and operate a transitional living facility here for people that are coming in and out of the carceral system, and also people waiting for treatment or returning from both mental health and substance use treatment. About 2 years ago, the Meadows Institute report found that in all of Hays County, transitional living was something that lacked. And I think in their words, it did not exist. And we're seeing the ramifications of that now. The recently completed 2024 point-in-time count showed an increase in the homeless and unsheltered population here in San Marcos. And currently, there just aren't the facilities available to help people transition from a homeless state or from the carceral system or from treatment into a life worth living. We do have the Southside Community Center, we have Horton House, but both of those are temporary. And so we would love, and I know a lot of other organizations would love to utilize the additional community development block grant funding that you will be voting on to allocate. And again, like I said, I would like to request that y'all vote in approval of that, just so that we can serve our neighbors, so that we can truly take care of those who are the most vulnerable in our area. So thank you so much for your time.
Our next speaker is Tara Opiella.
Hello, I am Tara Opiella. I'm here to speak in support of the Malachi Williams family. The family has extremely simple, clear requests that are in line with both of our largest neighbors to the north and south, both of which are entirely able to release body cam footage within a well-understood, well-defined timeline that does not leave us all waiting around to see the barest minimum of transparency. The family has simple demands, and you make them keep coming up here week after week to demand justice for their child, their sibling, and it's frankly ridiculous that you would treat the community, you would treat such prominent members of the community as such, ones who have given their entire lives to this community. They have very simple demands: to release the officer's name and badge number, remove the officer under investigation, and allow the family to view all footage and all siblings with an attorney present. I mean, again, the barest of respect to this family, and y'all cannot even afford it. Like, it's frankly ridiculous. I mean, look, Stan Standridge standing over here. He's scared to even stand in the room. I mean, come on, it's the barest level of accountability. He's shown up every once in a while. He's the guy. That's the guy who writes that policy, who stands in the way. And here he is, and the family is here too, and they're demanding, hold him accountable. If he won't give us who's accountable, hold him accountable. Thank you, Stan Standridge, for finally showing up. You know, it's delightful. I'm glad you can make eye contact. You normally like to look at the ground. But, you know, it's frankly a disgrace. We don't have any trust in the police as long as we don't have any accountability. Let's just bring us in line with our biggest neighbors, act like the big city that we are, act like adults. It's an embarrassment. It really is. Speaking of embarrassments, Shane Scott, I see, is missing after he backed out of proposing the ceasefire resolution for San Marcos. Once again, a fairly mundane. The community is asking for you to advocate for a simple interest, one that the vast majority of Americans support, that even mainline Democrats are being forced to fall into line with, mainline Republicans are being forced to adhere to, because it is the most basic and simple demand that San Marcos speaks up for its citizens, demands justice the world over and here in town. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Vanessa Galvan, to be followed by Miriam Williams, Shelley Acree, and Shay W.
Good afternoon. My name is Vanessa Galvan. I'm here after 2 months almost of Malachi Williams' death to talk to all of you again about why there's no clarity surrounding his murder. Very simple demands are being asked for here. I'm glad to hear that he was buried with his family, that at least they got to see him, which last time we knew that hadn't happened yet. They're asking for the release of the officers' names and the badge numbers, which I know he could probably help with that. Removing the officer under investigation off duty. We don't want him walking around killing other people because he's done it before. And allowing the family to view all the available footage with all their siblings and an attorney present to go from there to begin the process of justice, because this is not it. They have received the bare minimum and they're still asking for crumbs and you're not giving them to them. I wonder if it was your kid, your grandkid that this would have happened to, if this would be the same situation. And I know the answer is no, so why is it not for Malachi? Why won't you help their family? What is this? It's embarrassing. And we have to live with it every day. I don't know how you guys live with yourselves, quite frankly. Every single day waking up, and we have the picture of his memorial next to our bedroom just because I like waking up and remembering that there is people that need help every single day. And that's your job, and you still won't do it. It's embarrassing.
Our next speaker, Miriam Williams. I think that may be who was on the phone with the other person. I'll circle back around. Shelley Acree.
Hi, my name is Shelley Acree. It's been 241 days. 241 days that civilians in occupied Palestine have been displaced, killed, denied their basic human needs such as food, water, medical care on our dime. Okay, don't forget that, on our dime. Despite Israel being found to be committing genocide by the highest court in the international community, the ICJ, they continue their siege. And the U.S. continues to support. No one is above the law, and justice will be served in time. All I'm asking is that you guys speak about a ceasefire resolution, as we've been asking for months. But at this moment, I'm not just asking for that, I'm asking for you guys, no, I'm demanding you guys to support your constituents. Not a foreign state. You pledged allegiance to the United States and to Texas, not to Israel. Our local tax dollars of almost $1 million a year go to support a violent apartheid state, AKA Israel, making us complicit in their crimes. Enough is enough. You can't claim to not know what's happening at this point. I encourage you all to listen to interviews from doctors and medical staff who have courageously treated in Gaza, putting their own lives on the line as if they're military themselves. Can you imagine bandaging up someone who just lost their limb, giving them Tylenol for the pain, and then moving on to bandage up the next person without even being able to wash your hands because there's not even soap and water? Can you imagine? Can you imagine what it feels like to starve to death? Can you imagine what it feels like to watch your child starve to death? These circumstances could easily be us. The difference is just simply circumstantial. Additionally, I also call for justice in regards to Malachi Williams' family, who I believe is currently being held emotionally hostage by not being able to have proper closure. They deserve the truth. They deserve better. We all do. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Shay W. Yancy Arabelo. Sam Benavides. Oh, is it Yancy? Yeah, come on up. To be followed by Sam Benavides, then Karen Munoz, Eli Doyle, Zachariah Al-Natur, and then Amanda Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Yancy Arevalo. So I am here today for the same reason that I've been coming for the last couple weeks, months, to ask y'all to please put the ceasefire resolution on the agenda for discussion. It is that simple, and y'all are making it so difficult. It doesn't need to be difficult. The longer that y'all put this off, the more it's making me think that y'all are pro-genocide, that y'all are Zionists in support of a occupational government that is just murdering people, killing children, cutting their heads off, setting their camps on fire in supposed safe zones. There is nowhere safe for Palestinians on their homeland. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Are y'all in support of genocide? Because that's what it's looking like to me the longer this keeps going on. It would just be so, like I said, so simple and easy to just bring it up for discussion. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but ever since I've been coming here for citizens' comment, I have not heard a single person come up here against a ceasefire resolution. Everyone who's come up here and spoken to y'all about this has been in support. Yeah, there's people out there in the community who don't want this to happen, but where are they? Do you see them here? Are they coming to speak to you here? I don't think so. Are they afraid to show their faces? Regarding Malachi Williams, I agree with what was said before me, that they are being held emotionally hostage. Like, for what? They deserve to know the truth. And like I've been hearing before me, it is so simple for y'all to just meet these demands. Malachi Williams deserves justice. He deserves to rest in peace. I don't trust y'all. I don't trust the police department. And if y'all keep going at it, I'm not gonna vote for y'all the next coming election. Whoever's running up again. So keep that in mind. That your actions are speaking very loudly, or your lack of action, I guess. And we will remember that.
Our next speaker is Sam Benavides. Karen Munoz. Oh, there you are. Sorry, I didn't see you in the lobby.
No worries. Good evening, Council. My name is Sam Benavides, and I come before you this evening to ask that you help the family of Malachi Williams seek answers about the night a beloved son, brother, nephew, grandson, and friend was taken from this world. This Thursday will mark exactly 8 weeks since Malachi was shot and killed by an SMPD officer who has been back to work for weeks now, and still his family is left in the dark about what exactly transpired that night. You are some of the only people in this town who have the power to ask tough questions of the police department and actually get a response. The rest of us can't even attend Chief's advisory panel anymore because just like the Criminal Justice Reform Committee, that was suddenly closed off to the public. Some questions I want to encourage you to ask include, what exactly happened in that convenience store? Why won't they allow the family to view this specific footage? I don't believe that Chief Standridge's pre-recorded video tells the full story about what exactly was their verbal exchange while in the store. Did the officer do anything that may have made Malachi fearful? We know that Malachi had previous contact with officers who had just made him move from the area that he had been resting at for 4 months. Is this an officer who had previous contact with Malachi? A was no attempt made to de-escalate and disarm during the convenience store interaction? One of my best friends who spoke at the vigil works in a group home with kids in the foster care system and talks about how she herself, who weighs give or take 140 pounds, has had to physically restrain and disarm 16 and 17-year-olds who are actively trying to hurt one another. Yet these officers, with their endless funding, training, and resources, could not do the same. That should be unacceptable. I understand that you as a council are often overworked, understaffed, and have little support, and that this isn't even a full-time job for most of you, and you have jobs and competing priorities outside of this. But like I said, you are some of the only people in this community with the power to ask these questions and get a response. Those who attended Malachi's vigil got to see how beautiful of a person he was. Like his grandpa says, it is not just a loss to his family, it is a loss to the world. I hope each of you will do what you can to help this grieving family seek the same answers that you would want if you were in their position. I also want to take a couple of minutes to uplift the calls for a ceasefire resolution. It was San Marcos that was the first city in the state of Texas to pass a cite and release ordinance, and also is helping lead the way towards a future where weed is decriminalized in the entire state. We should continue to be the statewide leaders in the fight for a ceasefire resolution and a free Palestine. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Karen Munoz.
Good afternoon, Council. My name's Karen Munoz. I'm not really sure that there's anything more that we can do to convince you to show compassion. I don't think there's anything else that we can say to you at all, really, to make you feel compassion, even. So beyond the comments that I'm making today, I'd encourage you to review the comments that I made to this very body on May 7th, 2024, and the comments that we all made. I'll remind you again that we spoke for over 2 hours. We're still calling for a ceasefire, and we're still demanding that you bring this item up for discussion. It's not hard to bring something up for discussion. Clearly, it's not hard to show up whenever you care about something. We're also still calling for justice for Malachi Williams, so I'd also like to reiterate the demands of Malachi Williams' family. So one, that you release the officer's name and badge number. Again, if we don't know who killed someone in our community, none of us are safe. 2, that the officer or officers who killed Malachi be relieved from duty immediately. And 3, that all camera footage, all store footage, all footage available be available to the family for their review with a lawyer present. Again, it's not fair to make this family who has been held emotionally hostage go view this footage in the police department or the DA's office without a lawyer present. It's just, the power imbalance there speaks for itself. I don't see how you guys don't see that. You all let the chief of police play you for a bunch of fools, that you come up to the family, that you came up last meeting and said you're sorry, you're really sorry, you have condolences, you feel bad about what happened, right? That you say that and then do nothing beyond that. You let Stan Stanridge play you for a bunch of fools. I understand that this is the last meeting of the month, also the first meeting of the month. I do hope that you enjoy your vacations with your families, with your loved ones, with your children, with your toddler, Mark. Malachi's family won't get that opportunity because your police officers took that from him, because your police officers murdered him. There are too many families in Palestine that won't get that opportunity because our taxpayer dollars, and apparently Matthew Mendoza's salary, funded their death. I have a really hard time sleeping at night knowing how much injustice is all around me at any given time, knowing that Malachi Williams isn't here anymore, knowing how much pain, suffering, death is all around Palestinians. Clearly, all of us feel a responsibility to fix the injustice in the world around us. And I'm not sure how you guys don't feel that same responsibility. I'm not sure how you can sleep at night. Stephanie, I'm really sorry that you inherited such an impotent council. I really want to be proud of you, and I am, but this makes it really hard. Thanks.
Our next speaker is Eli Doyle.
Hello, my name is Eli Doyle. Can you hear me okay? All right. So we can keep repeating the same things. I'm going to read a list of war crimes and violations of international law that have now been 100% verified to be happening in Palestine as a result of Israeli attack funded by our dollars, our tax dollars. Collective punishment, including shutting off access to electricity, drinking water, food, fuel. The UN says approximately 2 million people in Gaza have entirely run out of drinking water and all medical care. The use of starvation of civilians as a method of warfare is prohibited under international humanitarian and criminal law. The UN has declared that northern Gaza is now in a full-blown famine. 1.7 million Palestinians, making up 75% of Gaza's population, are now internally displaced, and 1.3 million of those, including over 600,000 children, have sheltered in Rafah. Since October 7th, 2023, the World Health Organization has recorded a total of 890 attacks on health facilities, with 447 in the West Bank and 443 occurring in Gaza. And all but 3 hospitals have been destroyed in all of Palestine, 2 of which are in imminent danger of shutting down. The targeting of hospitals is a war crime and a violation of international law. The targeting of refugee camps is a war crime and a violation of international law. And I believe it was on May 27th when Israel attacked multiple refugee camps and many people were burned alive in their tents. The targeting of schools is a war crime and a violation of international law, and universities have been completely destroyed. The majority of Palestinians killed by Israel have been between the ages of 5 and 9 years old. And in October 2023, more than 400 children were killed or injured every day. UNICEF, Save the Children, and Oxfam have determined the siege on Gaza be among the deadliest armed conflicts for children of the 21st century. So if you're keeping count, that shortened list, that's by no means extensive, has at least 4 war crimes and multiple violations of international law that have been verified. This is heinous. And there's so many ties between what's happening in Palestine and y'all's refusal to do anything that we are asking you to do, and what Malachi Williams' family is going through. At a certain point, the city of Austin, they just recently, there was a whole bunch of citizens who were trying to get Austin to pass a ceasefire resolution. The city of Austin didn't do it, so they passed a people's resolution right? Because meet Malachi Williams' family's demands.
Next is Zechariah Al-Nator. In the control room, could somebody check and see why our screen is blank?
Hi, my name is Zach Al-Nator. I live off of Mill Street. You guys are bad people. The disappointment I come here with today is immeasurable, knowing that the people in front of me continue to, time and time again, make the wrong decision, take the wrong stance, and continue to obstruct what is good and right. The horrific handling of the murder of Joshua Wright by your police department, the piss-poor renegotiated police union contract, the lack of discipline to your officers who taser disabled people, the lack of discipline to sergeants who drink and drive and kill people. Where's Stanbridge at? The bullshit implementation of weed decrim, and now with the failure to put a ceasefire resolution on the agenda, and the once again horrific handling your police officers killing our community members. I'm so ashamed to say that I live here. It's disgusting to know what goes on here, and it's sad to say, I'm from San Marcos. No, dude, I don't want to be saying that. I don't want any, association with this vile town. You guys are gross. And it's disgusting, because I could be killed by your police officers, and you guys would sit there and protect the police officer. Fuck me. No, you guys would sit there and protect my murder. It's disgusting to see a council not wanting to even discuss a resolution that has to do with the genocide of my people. You can go, I'm Palestinian, go check the death names. You will see my last name up there. And it's disgusting. It doesn't matter to you guys, though. I can see, you have the family of a community member that was shot and killed. You guys don't care. Saul sits here falling asleep. Shane Scott shows up after community comment because he drops his support for the resolution and knows exactly what people are coming here to speak for. Why? Why are you guys here? Retire. Please, I genuinely don't know why you guys sit here I'm sitting here crying listening to these people. You guys sit here falling asleep. Why are you guys here? It's so disgusting. You guys are smearing the name of this town. You guys are putting a bad name on this town. People will look back and look at you guys and spit on you. It is disgusting to see what you do. We need more public health services. 2% to public health and 60% to the police budget so you can continue to have cops kill our mentally ill? What is wrong with you guys? Genuinely, it is so disgusting. How much deliberation was spent on the SMART terminal? How much money, time, and effort did you guys sit to figuring all that out? It comes to anything with money, developers, land grants, and you guys will dedicate the world to it. 8,000 fucking meetings. People die in your community. Your police officers, your police officers, you have the ability to do something, you let them murder your people. This is on you guys. This is on you. I want you to know, every single one of you, this is on you. You have the ability to make change, yet you cease to. I don't know how any of you sleep at night. You guys truly disgust me. You are all bad people. You're fucking sociopaths.
The time is up. Our next speaker and our last speaker will be Amanda Rodriguez. I'm going to ask for 0 comments.
Amanda Rodriguez. Being the last, I feel like I don't want to reiterate so much of what has been said. I hear y'all are going on vacation, which is great. I can't remember the last time I had vacation. I guess I want to ask, not just y'all, because y'all don't really listen to us. People in the audience, people who are just here for maybe their own interests, the interests of the companies they work for, people out there. How many of y'all have held a baby? It's a good feeling. Maybe those of you actually have kids that you go home to at night. Well, the other week, a week ago now, I had to watch. I didn't have to live it, so my experience is literally nothing compared to what I saw them live, but I had to watch a man stick his arms out in front of a camera for the entire world to see of a baby. The only thing is, it didn't have a head. A baby. What do you say? What else do you say? How can you convince me, and I really want one of y'all to try, Try to come and debate us. Try to actually have a conversation as to why you're so complicit with that. Why? Matthew, why not drop what you're doing right now in your own personal life? Because you're profiting off of that. That's crazy to me. A baby. They are bombing tents with your tax dollars. Every last one of you, your tax dollars are going to them bombing tents. What else do you say? We'll continue to come. But it's already been said, it's a shame. It's a shame we have to hold y'all's hand to make a decision. It's a shame that we have to beg y'all to act. It's a shame. It's also a shame that a man, nobody knows where he is now that he got called out, but a man who none of us elected, y'all appointed, can decide on a whim that he knows best on what to and what not to share with this community. Please explain to me what was the purpose of us putting body cameras on officers? So y'all can have something to look at? Something to discuss in private? It's a shame. She told us today, his mom, she hasn't even been able to see the death report of her own son. That's sick. And y'all can sit up there and you leave and you go home and you go rest your heads. But again, it's been asked, how do y'all sleep at night? Because damn, I cannot sleep. Because I'm so disappointed. I'm disgusted.
And that was our last speaker. So we will move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that council members want to pull for extended discussion? Going once?
Motion to approve consent, Mayor?
Motion by Mr. Gleason.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Mendoza. Ms. Trevino.
Mr. Prather, Mr. Scott. Here's it. Ms. Garza?
All but number 8.
Number 8. Okay, thank you. Mayor Houston?
Aye. Was that a no on
No, number
8
8.
or
That's a
abstain
no.
or? Okay.
All right, Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
And Mr. Mendoza?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-0.
Okay, so we will move forward to our public hearing, or public hearings.
Receive a staff presentation, hold a public hearing to receive comments for or against the use of $421,152 in Community Development Block Grant funding for housing, social services, public facilities, and infrastructure, and the selection of projects for the 2024-2025 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan, and provide direction to staff.
I'm Carol Griffith, Housing and Community Development Manager. This evening, I will present information on the applications received for the Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Program Year 2024-2025, so next year's funding. Council direction is requested on whether this slate of projects is acceptable to publish for public comment. If not, the proposed project slate can be modified at either this evening, June 4th, or on July 2nd. A 30-day public comment period is required, and then final council decision must be made on August 5th in order to make HUD deadlines. Next slide. So we have proceeded through this application process per the requirements of HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Next slide. This year, there we go. Next slide. Oh, I'm so sorry that you got it. Okay, this year, San Marcos will receive $766,000 in CDBG funding from HUD. So that's actually more than last year. That was good news for us. During a work session on April 16th, council directed the reallocation of CDBG funds of $639,927 from various projects from previous years. And this is a change from the amount published, which was $655,089.
we realized we had miscalculated on the home buyer's assistance, so we had to reduce the amount that's moving from prior years. So you can see the change on the slide. So the prior year's funding will be added to this year's allocation. So the total to be allocated through this year's application process is actually 1.4 million. Please note, each year, no more than 15% can be spent on public services and no more than 20% on administration or planning. San Marcos spends all of its public services and administration funding every year, so none of the funds available to roll forward can be spent on these items. They all are for projects only. Next slide. To be eligible for consideration, each proposed program or project must meet a variety of requirements set in place by HUD regulations. This year, one application received was not eligible and was returned to the applicant with an explanation. 6 eligible applications were received for public services and 5 for projects. All eligible applications were reviewed by a staff committee on the criteria that are shown on this slide and the next one. Next slide. This slide continues the evaluation criteria. Applications were evaluated on need, justification, impact and cost effectiveness, implementation and measurable outcomes, and past performance or letters of reference, and council priorities. Next slide. City council priorities such as serving an increasing number of people, having an office located in San Marcos, or already having served San Marcos for at least 2 years were included in the evaluation and scoring by the committee. Next slide. In addition, each member of the staff committee performed a risk assessment scoring for each application. In the end, all proposals were considered low risk, but within that category, the housing rehab program scored highest because of its complexity, and the Outsiders Anonymous application scored second highest because it's a new program. Next slide. The amounts requested go on for several slides and total 1.4 million. I'm sorry, they totaled 1.6 and then the recommendation will total 1.4. First, here are the requests for public services funding, which is limited to $114,909 this year. I'll provide a brief description for each application. The majority of the staff committee desired to fund all public service applications due to the level of need of each program in the city of San Marcos. The first 3 programs listed provide intensive assistance that can change the trajectory of people's lives, and the last 3 provide emergency assistance for pressing immediate needs. So I'll go over them each briefly. On the slide, the first one is court-appointed special advocates. They requested $60,000. Recommendation is $37,909. This request is for partial funding for staff and utilities for CASA, which trains volunteers who are voices in the courts, schools, and the child welfare system to ensure representation of children and youth's best interest. Next is Greater San Marcos Youth Council Family and Youth Success Program. They requested $20,000, recommended is $13,000. And as you can see, we don't have enough to cover every request, so we had to cut each one. The agency desired to reduce the wait list and expand services to San Marcos families with children ages 6 to 17. They're trying to increase the numbers served through their National Family Support Network program, and they would be purchasing supplies, using the money for space rental, and a portion of the funding to support the family support specialist salary. Third, Hayes Caldwell Women's Center's Family Violence Shelter Program requested $49,500, recommendation is $28,000. The funding requested was to pay a small portion of the salary for 2 of HCWC's shelter staff who provide services to victims of family violence, and to provide 2 months' rent for approximately 13 families moving into their own home or apartment in San Marcos after leaving the family violence shelter. The last 3 programs requesting funding requested it for direct payments to people for emergency services. Southside also requested a small portion of a case manager's salary. These programs were seen as very similar, and the committee recommends funding the agencies equally at $12,000 each. Next slide. Next, the planning department Planning and Development Services Department requested the 20% maximum to pay for staff salaries to run the CDBG program and $280,000 to pay for home repair. The housing rehab program funding will not be used for staff, but will be used for inspections, title insurance, and hard costs of the repair work. The staff committee recommends funding administration at the 20% and funding housing rehab at $260,470 in order to have funding for additional projects shown on the next slide. So next slide. Finally, other project applications were received from city departments, the school district, and one agency. Last year, the Swift Memorial Park project was awarded partial funding of $84,000, with the expectation that it would be back this year to request the rest of the funding needed. Swift Memorial Park requested $127,775, and that is our recommendation for funding. This provides complete funding for the project to install turf, to replace mulch, install a shade structure, resurface the basketball court, add ADA access entries, etc. The city also requested funding for the Thorpe Lane sidewalk. The city requested $750,000. This is where I took the amount that we had to cut because of our miscalculation. So their recommendation is now $645,788. The idea there was that the application was based on good estimates, but just estimates on how much the project will cost, so we felt like we could take the cut from that one. This funding is for design and construction of sidewalk improvements, including ADA accessible upgrades along Thorpe Lane from Robbie Lane to Loop 82. Keep going. Next, we have an agency that requested project funding. Outsiders Anonymous Outsider Housing Program requested $54,000, and the committee recommends funding it with $45,420. This would provide partial funding for interim housing for people in recovery from substance addiction. Funding would support either acquisition or leasing and or configuration of a living facility for approximately 10 people. The reason CDBG can pay for this is that per the application description, it qualifies as a homeless facility. And it is specifically for recovery from substance addiction. And so these are specifically allowed by CDBG for funding. Last, San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District asked for funding for the Barrio Pescado Fitness Trail. They requested $58,414. The committee recommended $58,415. We had to put a dollar somewhere. This provides complete funding for purchase and installation for 10 stations of outdoor exercise equipment along a 1-mile loop on SMCISD property. This would be available to the public for use at all times. The loop follows Broadway, Staples, De Zavala Drive, and Highway 123. Next slide. This evening, a public hearing will be held to receive comments on these proposed projects and programs. After that, staff is requesting council's direction on the projects and programs that should be included in the draft action plan, which will be posted for public comment for 30 days. Then staff will bring the proposals back with the comments to City Council on August 5th for final consideration. This concludes my presentation.
Okay, so now I will open the public hearing and ask if there is anyone online or in chambers or in the lobby who wishes to speak for, against, or about these projects and the CDBG dollars. Do we have anyone online, Mr. Trevino, that signed up?
Let me see if she could. Shanta Miller is first.
Shanta Miller, if you're on and listening, I've called your name, and now would be a time to speak on this public hearing for community development block grant funding. She may have stepped away. Okay. Anyone here in the building? Okay. Then I will close the public hearing. Is this requiring a motion and a second? Is that where we need to go here in order to publish these?
We're just asking for general council direction, so not a motion and a second. Just, if you agree with the slate of projects, we need to know that. And if you want to change it, we would like your direction tonight preferably, or July 2nd, if not.
Okay, well, this will be on our agenda again, July 2nd,
Only if you want to change something.
only if we do. And otherwise, then we've hit a deadline of our August 5th meeting because this is due the August 16th.
Exactly.
Okay. Council, do y'all want any?
I got one question. On the Thorpe Lane sidewalk, currently there's a significant amount of construction being done on the sidewalk on Thorpe. Does that include this funding or is that an additional project?
Do you want to talk about that? I can make up an answer, but.
Sure. The construction you see right now is being done by our public services group, their sidewalk program. There are some sidewalk repairs that are beyond their ability and scope, and so they need some additional funding to address those. This funding will be used to address what they can't do. And also, as a reminder, we are doing the Springtown at Thorpe intersection. We're gonna put a signal. So we're gonna do probably, I think, about 50 feet on either side. So that will not be included in this grant as well.
That will be in or will not be?
It will be completed, but not with this funding.
Okay, but it's in the CIP.
It will be funded with the TxDOT funding we're getting.
Oh, okay, all right. And then the only other comment I have is I'm super excited about the trail at Barrio Pescado. Should be a nice project in partnership with the school district that, it's a significant amount of money, but I think it'll be a benefit to everybody on the east side.
Any other questions, thoughts?
Actually, I just want to point out that.
Hold on,
Oh,
Ms. Garza's
sorry.
next. Whenever I ask that, if you'll just hold on till I call
I'll
your
look at
name.
you.
Thank you. Ms. Garza.
I have a question. It's just clarification. For the housing rehabilitation, is that the same program that I approached you with concerns about barriers to folks getting the application through?
I thought you approached us about the rental assistance program,
No, this is when we were talking about.
like a couple months ago, maybe?
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
so I think so, yeah. I know we've had interaction about the program.
Right, and so I guess I'm confused in terms of timeline, like this is a new lot of money, so what happened to the first lot of money?
So it's a great question. So right now, we are running seriously behind what we would have preferred. The money that we have is $800,000 from CDBG and $800,000 from ARPA. Right now, what we have is 30 houses that have bids in place. Some of them we're discussing with the homeowners, so we always get their agreement on the bid very specifically. Some of them we've moved past that, and we're just into the title insurance phase where we're finalizing the paperwork that has to be signed before we can get started. So it has gone on for a long time, but we have 30 houses that are gonna roll. We have 5 under construction and then 25 pending. And that will take up all of the funding that we have so far.
Awesome, and then for this allocation of money, is money gonna be able to be used to help folks navigate their title issues? Like, is that one of the, because I know conversation last time was, like, what are the parameters in terms of what's an allowable expense? And I think it's like not a surprise, we've discussed this to our neighbors that, title issues have been a thing, throw back to the floods and whatnot. So I'm just curious as to how we're going to assess that, or do we have to think about other funding sources to help folks navigate those issues?
So per HUD, legal services to support title clearance can be paid for by CDBG, but it is a public service. So it would have to come out of the $114,000. What we have done instead so far is recruit volunteers to help us. And then we've been in contact with, I've just lost their name. A Legal Aid Society, sorry. Texas Rio Grande, thank you. I was calling them something else. To find out more about their services, they are super overloaded. So what we have found most helpful is to have volunteers who can help people do the paperwork, and then we help them file it. And that has resolved it to the point where we know exactly who owns the home. So for example, in one case, we had one lady and 9 grown children. We got everybody to sign up and then now we can have all 10 sign our construction contract. So as long as we have that clear legal designation of who owns it, we can proceed. So it's mainly about getting that cleared up through it's like an affidavit of heirship usually.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to express on the record, once again, the concerns that I had when we first talked about this, which is my concerns that volunteer-led initiatives regarding legal paperwork that is sometimes decades, as a result of decades-long confusion within families about heirship, like that to me, I feel like it's something to revisit, I guess, as the project unfolds, because I have concerns, and even one of our neighbors who is an attorney and who has worked those type of legal clinics in other areas echoed this concern that it's something to flag, like using volunteers in lieu of attorneys for something as serious as this. Like, I understand that that's just, we want to get over that hurdle to get folks the services, but I just wonder if we might be inadvertently setting some folks up for future legal issues. I mean, there's a reason why they haven't been addressed, and it's because heirship concerns are not like a walk in the park to navigate.
They're not.
Right. So, yeah, I just felt the need to voice this. I don't have any solutions to that issue. I feel like I've done my part, bringing in folks from law clinics that might be willing and able to help with that. So I really just encourage the city to take advantage of those resources, whether it's St. Mary's or UT. There's folks able and willing to do that through their programs, just a matter of reaching out to them. And I think it would really help our neighbors who have been navigating these issues for decades.
I'd like to add to that. Thank you for.
Wait, Mr. Mendoza was next.
I'm sorry. You found it? I hear your concerns, and they're well taken. Airships, when it comes to titles, it's really a time-consuming thing, and it could take years. And when we run into one of those problems that you get a flag and there's 3 people out of the family don't want to sign, what happens then?
We try to explain very clearly to anybody who, in the family who will listen, here's the issue, here's what it would take to resolve, and we can't help you until this is resolved.
Right then, in other words, all that work could have gone down the drain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the people that did my title search has always been attorneys, because they want to make sure they get it right, and then they got to warranty the deed and everything else.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody knows this could be a process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I did want to name one more thing, if I could, that I do appreciate that the city leadership is even taking the time to explore these issues. I do know similar communities who have access to this money. I mean, they just say, ooh, title issues, vaya con Dios, like you're on your own. So I think it's important to name the willingness of our staff and our city leadership to try to find some mechanism to mediate the issue. I just think, yeah, whatever we can do to support that in a way that helps our neighbors not have to perhaps readjust or reassess the legitimacy of those documents, I think most of us would support, if not all of us.
Okay, thank you.
Were there any dollar amount changes that you wanted to suggest?
No, you see, I don't know nothing about the monies of it all. I just need, that's an issue, y'all fix it, and we're crossing our fingers. That's all I got.
And look, I totally understand what you guys were trying to do there. We're trying to maximize the dollars, right? And I also can appreciate Councilwoman Garza's concerns about using volunteers for stuff like this. It can take, I've seen some of those be real serious issues. And some of these fixes can help their family for a generation or two. Well, I mean, once this is cleared up, a lot of times, and they have an idea, and you can kind of go back, and then you've got a clear title too. So, you know, just, I would be open if we put a dollar amount on, like, hey, if we have to hire legal services to clear some of this stuff up, but I don't want it to be half the money, right? So I would just be throwing out there, my colleagues, I would be open to discuss that.
But it would have to, we'd have to take money from programs, correct?
Yes, that's
It
and that's
couldn't
the
be out
problem.
of
And
this, so.
that's why I'm just saying out there, if somebody throws something out, I would be open to it. And I understand that it's a
Could we go back to the programs page? I'm sorry, the public services. And I have no idea what the expense would be. For the two that you mentioned that are not in San Marcos, do they work remote, or would somebody have to go out of town to receive those services?
I think, so one thing we had discussed was meeting up with law clinic or law schools. And so my understanding, I could be wrong, like St. Mary's, they do like a spring break, like service learning projects, and I would imagine that they would come here. I mean, they're just down the road. But I couldn't tell you. I believe city management has their contact information. I think that's something worthy of exploring.
So St. Mary's has worked with one of our families, and they're quite willing to work either way. What we have found is for the families, it's usually easier to go in person and talk through the issues and look at the papers, but St. Mary's can work either way.
I have a question. What's your success rate of helping people get these titles cleared up?
I would say out of
That means more than
5, we've had 3 clear. Does that seem reasonable? We had some that were fairly simple, and so those cleared pretty quickly, but 5 like intense, like, okay, we've got to do the heirship affidavit and so forth.
But out
2
of the
have
30
since walked away.
But out of the 30 or so you've done, you've had about 5 that have had title problems, and 3 of them you were able to fix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, approximately.
Okay, thank you.
But did you say 2, there were issues, so they walked away, which means their application was closed and they're not going to be receiving services from us?
Correct, yeah.
And are we guiding them to other places that doesn't have the federal regulations?
Well, we do always recommend the funding through ARPA. So for example, they have a few lower restrictions than CDBG. So we have Mission Able funding.
That's
through
my
the
question.
city.
Are we
Yeah.
referring them to the other routes?
Right, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with you, Mr. Gleason, is if folks could get paperwork in order now, then even if the next time, they've got a baseline to go back to. And I hope those with the 10 will go and seek to get that taken care of, because 10, there's going to be a problem in the future at some point. So I'm glad you got by now so that they can get this project done. But I hope that they figure out where they need to go next.
I got a small question here. You brought a great idea, Mr. Gleason, when it came to the title searches and whatnot. I wonder if we can hire an attorney just for a few months to get all that done for us.
But it has to come out of this money.
Well, I'm asking if there's other funds somewhere that we can make it happen. Never hurts to ask. I've been told no so many times. One more never hurts.
There's not budgeted money for that. Now, it would take council doing something from your fund balance in order to do that, unless you take it from ARPA or something like that. So we could look for some unallocated ARPA money or money that needs to be reallocated in the future.
Is there unallocated ARPA dollars, or maybe if some projects come in under estimate?
That is a possibility for us. We are planning, Mr. Minkle has been working with here he comes right here, but he's been working with the sponsor departments of the different projects to really wrap up, because we're getting so close to that time frame that we have to have everything allocated.
Yeah.
So he is planning on bringing a reallocation to council in the future. It's just a matter of all the other things that are competing for the same dollars.
Right.
Anything else to add on that, Mr. Bing?
Yeah, and the last time y'all brought us dollars that could be reallocated, y'all had projects. I think the question is, can we put this on the list of potential projects for if there are some dollars that turn, I hate to say
Absolutely.
leftover, but it's leftover.
Yes.
That we can just put this on the list.
We need to get some cost estimates to see, the hourly rates and stuff like that of attorneys who would handle these types of services.
But still seeking the free ones.
Oh, obviously, yeah, of course.
Well, because it might be faster.
Yeah.
So we can find out and then add it to the list for your consideration when we bring that back.
I mean, we're only talking, it sounds like a couple out of, it's not a large portion of them, and I just don't want to see one or two slip through the cracks that we might be able to. I mean, it's nice that Mission Able and all of them, we were able to help give them some additional dollars right now, but in the future, that may not be, so it's just
Well,
something. I
they'll
would be
get the
open to.
house fixed, but it's not gonna get this fixed.
Yeah, but it's just something I don't want to see slip through the cracks, that if we feel like we had to, and we're like, hey, we've got a couple more.
That's what I'm
here.
saying. I'd like to get
Yes.
the situation done, even though the house will get done. They still have situation that's gonna come back to
I'm open
be
to
a
put it on
problem.
the list if we got any additional
Okay,
dollars.
bottom line, are we okay with the recommended allocations as have been brought to us this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Scott?
I have a question. What did we give?
Is your microphone on?
Yeah, I turned
Okay,
it
good.
on. What did we give CASA last go-around?
35,000.
35,000, okay.
Is that from CDBG or from the other?
Oh, that was CDBG. HSAB, I think they got 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yes, to answer your question, like, I don't have any suggestions on the reallocation of the money. I echo my colleagues, like, if there's potential to secure some volunteer assistance from legal clinics, I think we should, like, prioritize that. But to Mr. Gonzalez's point and the mayor's point, thank you for bringing up adding it to the priority list, or, I think, prioritizing that is like an investment in our community's future, because these same folks are going to be the same ones who are not going to be eligible whenever like another natural disaster strikes, and they have to, you know, there's all this federal money that comes in and they're not going to qualify for it again. So it's like, do it now, or I guess not do it later, because by the, you know, when disaster strikes, we're not going to make time for that. So I appreciate the conversation.
I had one
Okay.
other question, Mayor.
Go ahead.
And I'm not sure if you would know this or not, but it's like Salvation Army, that's kind of a national group. And do we have any idea how much other cities are giving them?
We don't, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know.
Could we get that information?
I'm sure I think we could.
well,
I don't know their rules.
The
Sorry.
director is here. She may be able to tell us.
Oh,
they here?
sorry.
If you'll state your name for us, please.
My name's Lisa Cruz. I'm the Service Center Manager here at Salvation Army San Marcos. And what we get in funding is what we receive locally when we ring the bell during Christmas time. So it goes by county. So what we make in Hayes County stays in Hayes County. Some towns, like Caldwell and Bastrop, they're closed because they spend all their funding in a couple of months. And so that's why we're seeking out grants. We also have Miracle, I'm gonna say it wrong right now because I'm a little nervous. I wasn't expecting to come up here. But HEB, we have a campaign with HEB nationally, and we did get $23,000 for our Miracle to Ring. If I said that wrong, I'm so sorry. But really, that's what we get national. We do have email campaigns. The reason why the amount is so high this time is because we have moved locations and rent has increased. Also, we wanted to include rental assistance in our funding, as well as open our 3-day lodging. So utilities really takes a big chunk out of what we do. We spend that much in about a month. So that's why the amount was higher there. But we're very thankful for what we receive. We just keep trying.
Cool, thank you.
And when you say utilities, are you talking about helping people with their utilities?
Yes,
Payments?
yes.
Not what you're paying? Okay.
Yeah, utilities and helping client assistant.
Okay, but we still have, I believe, assistant city managers, our rental assistant, our electric utility assistants. And currently, folks go through community action to receive that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so there are dollars there, they're just run through a different agency?
For utility assistance, so they do more of a long-term, we're a crisis.
Right.
Emergency assistance, and so we've referred
Okay.
people to community action when it isn't an emergency, it's just they don't have enough funds for their bills. We also help with prescriptions and transportation and clothing and food.
Right. Yeah, I have a quick comment. I just like wanted to express my gratitude to those 3 entities. I think it's not a secret that our county lost like millions of dollars for rental assistance, and we're seeing that economic impact right now. More and more folks are in those crisis situations. I know we're doing our part by prioritizing like tenants' rights, tenants' like legal advice and money that we put to BR3T, but I do want to say that there's been like consistency in those three entities' ability to help our neighbors manage crises with empathy and resource connecting, and I think that's huge. Really taking on the role of like social worker with very limited funding, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like we inherited a lot of need, and I've been just really impressed with how we, as a body, are encouraging applications from entities like y'all. And of course, Carol, for helping everybody walk through things to make sure that they're legit in the reporting of it all.
Thanks to you and your staff for not only being efficient, but compassionate in what you do.
Yes.
Anything else? We're still at no changes to what's been proposed, so we will see you again in August.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, if you don't need anything else from us.
That's all I needed.
All right. All right, thank you. That closes out item 9. So on to, oh, hold on. It's been 90 minutes. I think it's break time. If y'all are okay with that, if you would, please be back in your seats at 7:40. We've come back from our break, and we are on to item 10.
Receive a staff presentation, hold a public hearing to receive comments for or against ordinance 2024-25, amending the regulations and standards of the Paseo Robles Kissing Tree Plant Development District, consisting of approximately 1,338.58 acres of land generally located in the area of Center Point Road and Hunter Road, establishing, among other things, a reduction in the total number of residential units in the mixed-use portion of the development west of Hunter Road, and allowing all of those in residential units to be active adult dwelling units for use by adults aged 55 and over, in case number PDD-08-05B, Kissing Tree Second Amendment, including procedural provisions, and provide an effective date, and consider approval of ordinance 2024-25 on the first of 2 readings.
Presentation.
Mayor and Council, Amanda Hernandez, Director of Planning and Development Services. This request is for an amendment to the Planned Development District Zoning Overlay, or PDD, for the Kissing Tree development located at Center Point Road and Hunter Road. Next slide. The PDD currently governing the Kissing Tree development was approved in 2010, was amended in 2011. Next slide. The base zoning of the land is mixed use and general commercial. However, the PDD provides specific standards for how this project will be built. If we can skip 2 slides. In your packet, you'll find a markup version of the PDD indicating the changes proposed by the developer, and there are 3 main changes. The first is an overall decrease in the number of units proposed in the mixed-use portion of the development. Second is removing the limit for active adult units. Previously, of the 3,400 units allowed, only 2,800 could be restricted for active adults. If approved, this amendment would allow the entire 3,100 units to be active adult. Finally, is a reference to a right-of-way dedication agreement, which is currently being drafted between the developer, our engineering, and legal team. And this agreement discusses the right-of-way needed for an overpass over the railroad along Center Point Road. You will see this agreement. It'll be on your next agenda when the ordinance is on for second reading. And this is really in the PDD, just a reference that that document exists, so we know to go look for it. Also included in your packet is the clean version of the PDD document, which is what City Council is voting on this evening and what will be attached to the ordinance if approved. Next slide. This is the modified concept plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission had a question during their meeting about what the among other things is that is referenced in the caption, and this is a good example of some of those other things. This plan was updated to provide more accurate acreages. Now that the project is developing, it's reflecting the exact locations of parks and of trails, and better reflecting just in general what's on the ground today. So those other things are kind of administrative type of things, but because we're bringing this forward, we included them for your consideration. Next slide. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously voted to approve the PDD amendment. Staff recommends approval. The applicant and their representatives are here, and that concludes my presentation.
All right, and with that, I will open the public hearing and ask if anyone wishes to speak for, against, or about Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. My name is Jeff Howard. I'm with McLean and Howard, and I represent the applicant in this case. We're
And
here.
we need your address. I forgot to say that.
Certainly. My address is 4301 Bull Creek Road, Suite 250, Austin, Texas. And I'm just here to say that we're here to answer any questions you may have. We, in addition to having staff support and unanimous Planning and Zoning Commission support, we conducted town hall meetings in the community. We've, I think there's been over hundreds of individual notices that have sent out. We sent separate emails contacting our residents and those nearby. And so far, we pleased to have support from the community and no opposition. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in chambers? Mr. Trevino, or any of the folks on, okay, that's what I thought. All right. Okay, then I will close the public hearing. And
Motion to
I-
approve.
Motion by Mr. Scott, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez. That was for approval, I assume.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Well, just, there's an option. Thoughts, concerns, questions? The folks that can answer them are here.
Just kind of a reminder of why PDDs are very successful, and this is a very good example of it. When we put this together in 2010 and 11, I knew that every time this would come through, the council would get to see it every time. And somehow we got away from PDDs, and I really want to bring that back.
Well, we kind of did,
Okay.
or we're working on it.
Was I here?
I think you were.
Okay. Anyway, again, good example why it's a very useful tool.
You're right about that. Anything else? Ms. Trevino, Wilba?
Mr. Scott? Ms. Garza? Mayor Houston?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Gleason? And Mr. Mendoza?
Aye.
Mr. Prather? The motion passes 6-0.
All right, on to item 11.
Receive a staff presentation, hold a public hearing to receive comments for or against ordinance 2024-26, amending the project plan and reinvestment zone financing plan for tax increment reinvestment zone number 4, Kissing Tree, to increase reimbursements to the developer by $16 million and to add eligible projects costs for completing the Centerpoint Road 4-lane extension, changing the water storage tank to an elevated storage tank, and upgrading a water lane, providing authorization to consummate the transactions contemplated by this amendment, including procedural provisions, and declare an effective date, and consider approval of ordinance 2024-26 on the first of 2 readings.
Presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. John Locke, Finance Director. This item is to amend the project and financing plan for the tax increment reinvestment zone number 4 for Kissing Tree. The project and financing plan authorizes 40% of the incremental taxes collected within the zone to be deposited within the TERS 4 fund. Hayes County also participates and contributes 40% of the incremental taxes into the fund. The incremental taxes that are deposited into the fund are used for eligible public improvements within the zone. The current plan allows for eligible public improvements of $32 million, and the developer reimbursement is limited to $30 million. This project and finance plan amendment will increase the estimated eligible public improvements to $46.8 million and increase developer reimbursement to a limit of $46 million. It also adds 3 new projects to the list of eligible projects. There are 2 primary reasons for the increased costs associated with this. The first is inflation. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, inflation hit historic highs. We've discussed the impact on the city's budget that the inflation has had. It's also had an impact on the this development, and that makes up for about half of the increased cost. The other half is related to new or upgraded projects requested by the city. Those projects include changing the water storage tank to an elevated storage tank, expanding the remaining 2-lane section of Centerpoint Road to 4 lanes throughout the development, and upgrading a water line to a larger capacity. In February 2024, The TERS 4 board approved amending the project and financing plan to allow these proposed changes. The estimated incremental taxable value at full build-out is $1.6 billion, which is about twice what the original estimated amount was. The cash flow analysis estimates that the $46 million reimbursement for the eligible public improvements will be fully paid in fiscal year 35. So for next steps, at the next council meeting on July 2nd, City Council will consider the second reading of this project and finance plan amendment, amending the reimbursement agreement with Brookfield, and amending the interlocal agreement with Hays County. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, I will open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Jeff Howard, 4301 Bull Creek Road, Suite 150, Austin, Texas. For the applicant, and we're here to answer any questions. I think staff did a good job outlining the reasons for it. And I think also it's very important to note that this project has been a huge success financially for the city of San Marcos, and that the appraised value is going to be nearly double. And so the tax increment that the city has collected is fantastic. And so we're happy to do our part in prepare these public improvements, and we look forward to this being approved on hopefully tonight and hopefully on July 2nd as well. With that, we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Mr. Trevino, our folks are not online, are they?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Then I will close the public hearing and await a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Scott, seconded by Mr. Mendoza. Council, questions, concerns, thoughts? Presentation was really good, Mr. Locke.
And
All
I
right.
will say Brookfield has been a very good partner in working with us through all of this process. They came to us from the very beginning and tried to look at how we could structure things to be a win-win. They know how important that Center Point overpass is for us, and so we were able to work with them to try to figure out how we could get that included within this. And so, again, not part of this per se, but it's going to be something that is still considered as part of the next few items that we'll be bringing to you in the next meeting.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank y'all. And Mr. Trevino will vote.
All right, Ms. Garza. Aye. Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Gleason.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Mr. Prather. And Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, and now we are out of we've concluded the public hearing portion of our program, and we are on to item 12.
Consider approval of Resolution 2024-103R, authorizing a change in service to the wastewater treatment facilities operations agreement with Jacobs Engineering Group, Inc., to add provisions of engineering design and replacement of a centrifuge and diffusers by Archer Western in an amount not to exceed $6,716,477.45. Authorize the city manager or her designee to execute the appropriate documents to implement the change in service on behalf of the city and declare an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Scott, seconded by Mr. Mendoza. Questions? Comments? Mr. Trevino will vote.
Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Gleason. Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Mr. Prather. Mr. Scott.
Aye.
And Ms. Garza. Motion passes 6-0.
On to item 13.
Consider approval of Resolution 2024-104R, approving a contract for election services with the Hays County Elections Administrator for the provision of election services for the city's general election to be held on November 5th, 2024, and if necessary, a runoff election to be held in accordance with state law. Authorize the city manager or her designee to execute the contract on behalf of the city and declare an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Scott, seconded by Mr. Gleason. I do have one question, and apologies for not asking before. When will the runoff date be set?
Yes, I received the email from the elections administrator, and it will be on Saturday, December the 14th.
All right. Is that in the document?
No, ma'am, but it will be added.
It is what it is, so?
Yes.
Okay. Because I remember one year, I think we set one and then found out that wasn't
The Secretary of the
working.
State just released that information today.
Okey-doke. All right, thank you for that. And let's vote.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Gleason.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Mr. Prather. Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Ms. Garza, and Mayor Houston.
All right.
Thank you.
Item 14,
Consider approval of Resolution 2024-105R, approving a joint election agreement between the City of San Marcos and Hayes County for the holding of a joint election to be held on November 5th, 2024. Authorize city manager or designee to execute the agreement on behalf of the city and declare an effective date.
Motion to approve.
motion by Mr. Scott, seconded by Mr. Mendoza. Any questions on this one? We'll vote.
Mr. Gleason.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Mr. Prather, Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Ms. Garza. Mayor Houston,
Aye.
and Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Consider approval of Resolution 2024-106R, amending the City Council procurement card policy and declaring an effective date.
Looking for
Motion
a
to approve.
motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Scott, seconded by Mr. Gleason. Council, I have some amendments to add, and I think they're going to be up on the Jumbotron here, not to add, but to make. And if you'll pull it up in your packet, you will see under, there we go. Oh, that's kind of small. Under roles and responsibilities, thank you. Under mayor, one of the changes that y'all made was the majority was saying, well, we should be responsible for our own, and the mayor doesn't need to co-sign and approve missing receipts and those kinds of things. And so my thought was that we need to delete item A. This is my motion to amend item A. Under the new A, I can't process applications, but I do that through the city clerk, like it had it on the next statement. So I'm suggesting that we add through the city clerk. Under D, I'm suggesting that we include the words including understanding regarding the P-card program. F, delete, will enforce requirements for submitting receipts timely to ensure coding and entering transactions into the city's financial system. That's not that the coding and entering won't happen. It's coming away from my responsibilities.
Yeah.
And then on G, we talked about the monthly report that we wanted, but the document that we have doesn't indicate where that report's going to go and then what will happen. And so I'm suggesting that part of my amendment still is the finance department's going to provide that report and give it to the city clerk, and then the city clerk will provide the individual reports to each council member. So that's my motion to amend.
I'll second your motion.
Thank you. Are there any questions on my amendments? Are these, if they're in line with what our intent was to begin with?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, then we will vote on the amendments.
Quick question, Mayor, who did you give the second to?
Me.
Mr. Gleason.
Thank you. All right, ready to vote. Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Mr. Prather, Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Ms. Garza. Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
And Mr. Gleason.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Are there any questions? I had one more under item 4. This is another motion to amend. This is in a different section. Under spending control limits, general use temporary limit increases, it says, it's saying that we should insert, council members may request temporary limit increases for travel or other special circumstances. And that's the end of my amendment on that one.
Who are we requesting it from, Mayor?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
There's a form that you fill out, correct?
Mhm.
And so wherever on the form that says that form goes.
I thought we were going with whatever or travel.
Well, that's why I put for travel or other special circumstances. If you need it upped for a short period of time to get plane ticket and hotel stuff done, that's what this is here for. But what I'm trying to do is to narrow down the temporary limit increases, but I also have our other special circumstances.
Well, one of the thoughts that I had on that initially was, if your travel is 5,000 and you spend 2,500, you can only get, you only have 2,500 left, you know? So I mean, that is your credit limit, whatever your travel is. So there'd be no reason to have any type of increases or decreases.
What if you had 10 left and your travel was 3?
What's that?
What if you had 10,000 left in your travel and what you need is 3, but your limit today is 2?
I totally missed, I'm sorry.
When we talk about the limit, oh, sorry. When we talk about the limits, that's the, like, kind of like when we're traveling and, it's what's set with the card holder, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes when we travel, they have to increase it so that it's like not declined because we're like buying the flight and the
Exactly.
registration. That's what you're referring to?
Well, it's in there for temporary limit increases. I'm just trying to define for the future,
Yeah.
folks, for travel or other special circumstances. Why would someone need a temporary limit? And it's usually for travel.
Right, right.
Well, why would it be temporary if it's, your limit is what you have in that account?
But I think the limit is what is set with the card holder for
Yeah.
like safety purposes.
It's what's on the card. It's how much you can spend it, what, one time or daily, Ms. Trevino?
I'm sorry,
Well, that was one of the problems. It's $1,000 or something like that?
your travel budget?
No,
No,
the
the one
card
that-
The
limit.
single time?
Yeah.
Yes, the single use,
Yeah.
it is actually 1,000, and then the monthly cycle is 3,000.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that's what we were
So it's
removing, so we
1,003.
wouldn't have to deal with that,
No, well,
especially for travel.
no, you can't remove it because a credit card company has to have a number. And what we said was you could request temporary limit increases so that you can get those expenses paid for the trip, but then your daily limit goes back down.
Okay, so we'll file with the clerk, the
Yes.
city clerk, when we go on travel.
When you know you're going to be traveling,
Okay.
give her adequate time to work it out with the credit card company.
Yeah, because as you know, several times I had issues.
Things happen. Well, this is hopefully to take care of that. If there's no more questions on this one in particular, Ms. Trevino, let's vote on this one.
Okay, Mr. Prather, Mr. Scott,
Aye.
Ms. Garza,
Aye.
Mayor Houston,
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Gleason, and Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, any questions on the changes overall?
I don't have a question, but it just occurred to me, I wonder if there's somewhere to add, that staff will give council members the instructions on how to set up their own city account. I have found that to be really helpful, like, especially when traveling, like, I can log on to city, business banking and go see my transactions
See what you're-
live.
Yeah, okay.
But it was it's a todo un borlote to go and figure out how to do that. And so, yeah, I think I consider myself pretty tech savvy, and it was still an interesting experience. Yeah, maybe like adding that to the trading part or something, I think would be helpful.
Could that be added into the P-card training?
Yeah, we'll do that if that's cool.
Ms. Trevino, does that work for you?
Yes, I'll reach out to the purchasing
Okay.
department to.
And I forgot who was the Sweet Angel staff who, I was traveling and I was like, they're asking for I think like 4 digits of your social,
Your
I don't know what,
PIN,
and they were like, oh no, it's the numbers in the back of your,
Employee ID.
yeah, so that was really helpful. Cause you know, you put in 3 numbers wrong, you put in the
Yeah.
combo wrong 3 times and they're like,
Yes.
Hey, been there, done that, checking into the hotel, which is why I don't have a city card anymore.
so.
Figured I'm gonna end up using mine anyway, so just eliminate that complication. Okay, but that's a recommendation, but we don't need to reword that in the policy? Mr.
No.
Trino's just, folks are just gonna make that happen. Okay. All right, then we will vote on the twice amended policy.
Okay, Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Ms. Garza?
Aye.
Mayor Houston?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza?
Aye.
Mr. Prather? Motion passes 6-0.
All right, on to item 16, and I know we have folks here who are interested in this.
Hold discussion regarding the Parking Advisory Board Recommendation Resolution 2023-03RR-PAB to explore on-street paid parking implementation downtown and provide direction to the city manager.
Okay, council, the recommendation resolution is in your packet, and this was brought to us by the Parking Advisory Board. Is there anything our chair at the time would wish to say, or our parking manager, Mr. Campbell? Anything y'all like to say? Mr. Binion, Mr. Avila, anybody?
I would just like to reiterate that we're not asking to implement paid parking. This is just to explore paid parking.
Okay. And when I saw this, I had the chuckles because I'm looking at it going, well, but this is why we created the Parking Advisory Board in the first place. So, sure, although ex officio member, I don't get to vote on it, but I was in full support. So,
I thought we were moving towards that entirely, you know?
I think the idea is to come back with recommendations on possibly what that would look like, parking benefit district boundaries, any kind of changes to regulation and, length of stay, length of time, and those considerations, and put those all together in a comprehensive recommendation plan.
Along with validation from business, all that, okay. So all the stuff we've already discussed.
Absolutely, how the technology may work,
Yeah.
along with the regulation and along with the boundary.
type of technology, maybe even kiosk or just phone or
Absolutely.
coins? That was my job when I was a
Man,
kid.
that's money.
Put the coins in the meter.
Yeah, we can look into technology as well. That will be part of the recommendation.
I'm not suggesting meters with coins come back, but I believe in my lifetime, I've seen them there, go away, come back, and go away again. One of my biggest concerns on this, which I expressed at the meeting, and y'all know about it, is where the perimeter goes, because at one time, San Antonio Street was suggested to be the perimeter, and the businesses on South LBJ, which would have been the free part, were really concerned about that. So I think there's some natural perimeters to some extent, but then they're pretty broad. So what's the expense? If we were talking about kiosk and how many of those would be, if we're talking about something different, the perimeter may not be an expense issue.
Correct. I don't think we'll come up with just one option for the board to review and consider. I think there'll be several different options with those in consideration.
Sure.
I mean, I'm fine for discussing it, and there's been some really thorough discussions on the Parking Advisory Board. Like the mayor, I'm an ex officio, so I can't vote, but some good, deep discussions, and it's something we do need to discuss with the community. I have some reservations about it in general. So I don't know that we've battled through everything, all the other stuff that we've implemented the last couple of years. There's been a lot of changes, including with the booting ordinance, and I don't think we've fully let that play into effect yet. But I'm totally open to discuss it. I mean, something that's not going away, and see what everybody comes up with.
This was under discussion when I came back on council in November of 14.
It doesn't surprise me.
And a lot of things have changed, and technology has changed. So I think we're going to have different options and probably some better ones. So,
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
You can even have drones run a cycle. No, literally, you can.
drones for license plate readers.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't think about that one.
No, yeah, you could.
Yeah, I'm not promising I'm going to vote for it at this point, but I would like to see what the options are.
Yeah, I'm a drone pilot, so I think.
There you go. Ms. Garza?
In case everyone makes me anxious. But I'm very creative. Is that what you're asking?
I think it'd be like.
Are you good with the Parking Advisory Board continuing and bringing us several, an option or two.
Are you seeing like
three.
Parkinator or something?
Yeah.
The one thing I hope that we do is that we do as much outreach as possible to all of the downtown businesses and members of the community who spend money down there, what they think on this too. Because I hear from both sides already, and once it becomes more of a public discussion, there might be some ideas out there, but I don't want anybody to get harmed in the process of this, whether it's taking money in or spending money, so.
Very good point, and we'll make sure that we do community outreach and
I think that was
get
some of the
feedback
concern
from the community.
That was one of the concerns I already heard from a business owner was it's gonna end up happening, I'm not gonna have a say. I'm like, we're not going there yet, but I'm already hearing it a little bit with some reservation from them, so.
Are we all good with the pursuit?
Yes, ma'am.
We have 6 in favor of pursuit, 1 is not here. Or it would maybe be 7.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mayor and council members.
Thank y'all. And hey, you're done by 8:11. Are we really to executive session already? Hot ziggity dog. Mr. Trevino, item 17.
Okay. The city council will convene an executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Government Code. 1, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to receive legal advice regarding the following matters. A, Canyon Regional Water Authority and Hayes Caldwell mediation. B, Derek Arredondo versus City of San Marcos Civil Act Number 122-CV-684-DAE in the United States District Court for the Western District of Texas, Austin Division. C, Austin R. Colson versus City of San Marcos, Texas, et al., case number 24-50283 in the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. D, John Gregson versus City of San Marcos, Hayes County, et al., civil action number 124-CV-00400 in the United States District Court for the Western District of Texas, Austin Division. E, Reese versus Skinny Lab, Inc., DBA Spin Scooters, and the City of San Marcos, et al., case number 24-0776, District Court of Hayes County, Texas. Number 2, Section 551.87, Economic Development to deliberate regarding possible economic development incentives for Project Windshine.
And as we do each meeting, we post these on our work session agenda. That's the 3 o'clock meeting. And we had our discussion then. If we had not finished it, it's on this agenda so that we could go into executive session to finish. However, I do believe we finished all of these earlier, so there is no need to go into executive session, so we can move on to item 18.
Consider action by motion or provide direction to staff regarding the following executive session items held during the work session and our regular meeting, just as stated above.
Okay, and on number 1, A through E, we did receive an update. And item 2, we did direction to staff. Is that correct? Is that what I need to say, Mr. Agati?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. In which case, we are now to a question and answer session with the press and public related to items on this issue. Is there anyone online?
No, ma'am.
And anyone in the audience? There being none, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mendoza, seconded by Mr. Scott. Mr. Trevino?
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Ms. Garza?
Aye.
Mayor Houston?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza? And
Aye.
Mr. Prather. Motion passes 6-0.
And we are finished at 8:14. I have heard some people talking about meetings till midnight. Y'all,